obedient, abeg. I know say una dey vex for APC, abeg. No matter how you hate APC reach, abeg, no share this video go where they dey. They no go like am. This video fit give all APC member heart attack. In short, just watch am. This man don destroy their party finish. Anyway, watch am.
Point to respond to some of those issues, those emerging issues, including this week's purported suspension of Julius Abure as national chairman of Labour Party and his replacement with one Lamidi Apapa. Good morning, Chris.
Still, it's my pleasure to be
Good to have you in the studio. I mean, we've only been speaking with you digitally, but good to have you in the studio.
The pleasure is mine.
All right. Yeah. There are issues with the Labour Party. It looks like you guys are under siege. And there are two main issues. I don't know which one you would like to start with. But of course, it's the issue, on the one hand, of what is looking like a turmoil within the Labour Party. Julius Abure, because of a certain court order, has been removed, as a chairman. And we have Lamidi Apapa there, saying that he's now the acting chairman, on the strength of the court order. There's also the issue of, you're dealing with Professor Wole Soyinka on the one hand, you're dealing with Lai Mohammed and the federal government on the other hand. Is this about the fact that you have gone to court, or that you are saying things that some of your members are not expected to say?
Steve, clearly it's about the jambalaya of issues. When I discuss these issues about the events of the past 1 week, I laugh. For two reasons. The first is that you remember that praxis, the witch cried last night, the child dies this morning, and you're left with your conjectures. And I've said repeatedly that some folks, some brothers and sisters of ours, have murdered sleep, so they can sleep no more. Those who underestimate the resolve and the fierceness of the obedience do that at their own peril. Clearly so, because for so long we live in a country that has left the issues that pertains the well-being of the people unaddressed. For so long we have left the fundamental issues of democracy and civil society unaddressed. For so long leadership has been about me, myself and I. And so the sweltering harmattan of this content snowballed first into the NSAS protestation, and then the emergence of the obedient movement. The obedient movement, as it were, and that's what those who are orchestrating all this do not understand, is beyond partisanship. Now that's why it's difficult for them as they orchestrate the troubles in the Labour Party. They fail to understand that there is an army of intellectuals, an army of thinkers, an army of those who truly believe that we can have a new nation, an army of those who believe that a new Nigeria is possible, an army of those who believe that we must take back our country for good. So when they orchestrate, look at where it started from, with Julius Abure particularly. Yes, we agree that he may have made some mistakes, particularly at the level of his home state. Believe me, Edo State is the #1 obedient state in Nigeria. And the people feel offended that they couldn't they couldn't win certain positions, and they blamed it on him. And for that reason, there was turmoil at home. Some people purportedly suspended him and all that. But that has been handled by the party.
No, but
now,
the major issue with him is not just,
I'm
not
coming
delivering.
to that.
It's also about the allegation of fraud.
I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that, Steve. I'm coming to that, Steve. Now, fundamentally, and you're going to see the way I will take that. Because oftentimes, if you've been involved in partisan politics, which of course I know you've been at some point, you find out that what you call forgery and fraud at this point is a bit like calling the child a bad name so you can spank the child badly. Parties substitute candidates. Parties get affidavits, court orders, court injunctions, sometimes in chambers, and that's not forgery. All the parties do that, and that's not forgery. The fact that the Labour Party leadership has not been able to put that effectively before the public is a failure of the spokesperson of the Labour Party per se. I speak for the Big Ten, the BDAT Independent Campaign Group. So the fact that they've not been able to put that properly in the public view is a failure of the spokespersons. Those who are saying, and the court will come out with it.
Yeah.
Parties all over the world, parties in this, because even in our constitution and in the Electoral Act, the ticket belongs to the party.
That's right.
So they conduct primaries, they field candidates. So when at a certain point the party agrees, along with the candidates, to substitute candidates, they go about it several ways. And one of them is the APC does that, the PDP does that, to come up today to say that, oh, for certain reasons, you're accusing Julius Abure and his executives of forgery. That's a bit preposterous. But let me say here clearly that, like I noted, the witch cried last night, the child dies this morning. All that you see today in the Labour Party is about a fear of a certain political party and those who hold a mandate that is not truly theirs. I'm minding my words. Those who purportedly won an election but cannot celebrate. Those who, after an election, are still campaigning. Those who are doctoring phone calls and faking information because they want to earn some mileage against a candidate who, as it were, won the election. And that's why we're in court. You asked us to go to court. We're in court. Why not just allow the legal process? Why not just allow the judiciary? Why are you trying to twist the Labour Party? Why are you trying to twist the obedient movement?
That's what they're asking you to do.
Well, can I just come in here, because I mean you have obviously highlighted this allegation, which is what rings true in all of this, and the National Legal Advisor has come out to say that these documents, giving the backing of the registrar and Commissioner of Oath Seal, that those were the two particular things that they were able to use that they're going to use to identify the fact that those documents were allegedly forged. However, we're looking at a case where there has been an injunction saying that, okay, in the meantime, while we resolve this, let the chairman of this party step aside so that this can be resolved. And I know that this particular injunction was given at the High Court, even though there is another one that has been gotten, from the Abure faction. Yeah. But why are we seeing? Why, instead of going to get this other injunction, why not focus on clearing your name, or clearing the National Party chairman's name? A proper investigation being done, just so that there isn't this back and forth between, I'll say, both factions within the party.
Let me say clearly that there is no Abure faction and there's no Apapa faction. It's, like I said, the same people who are orchestrating the troubles are the ones fueling it. As I talk to you, at the worst, there's a deputy chairman of the party. So how can you just from nowhere leapfrog that deputy chairman if, for any reason, the party says, okay, we're going to obey the court order as against the other court order that says we're still in office. If the party wants to do that, there is a deputy chairman who should take over, pending like the PDP did. It's just about a desperation of sorts. It's about people who think. Is
Apapa not the deputy chairman?
Deputy at what level? The point is, Abure is in South.
Yes.
Apapa is in South. The substantive deputy chairman is the one from the North. This whole thing is an orchestration. Look at the man they suspended, the former publicity secretary coming back on board.
Arabambi.
Yes. Then look at the youth leader that they suspended coming back on board. It's an orchestration of trouble that a certain party intends to benefit from, but it won't work. That's exactly what we're saying.
I think that there's an infiltration, and it's from outside.
They're doing it to the PDP. They're doing it to the Labour Party because we're in court against them. And you see, let me make this very clearly known, that the issues are beyond these politics and these diatribes. The issues are fundamentally clear. On the 25th of February 2023, Nigerians voted for a candidate, and they know the candidate they voted for. That is why there's some kind of melancholy, some kind of uneasy calm some kind of, clearly, what you call the piece of a graveyard. The man who they declared winner in the wee hours of the 1st of March, we don't even know where he is. Then what makes it much more curious is that they have found it impossible, almost impossible to celebrate their victory. Now, what they're doing is junketing the world, trying to get lobbyists to make nations congratulate them. Where does that happen? Democracy is the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. If you win the people, they will celebrate your victory. If you didn't win the people, that's why we're where we are. But I tell you, and I want to say this clearly, Nigerians are listening to me, Labour Party is lucky to have a monstrous, fierce and passionate movement. Like they have a defense that is watertight, called the Obedient Movement. Most of us are not members of the Labour Party, but we're defenders of the mandate of Peter Gregory Obi. And we're fierce, we're intellectually sagacious. We're good at the internet.
Chris,
we're good at PR management.
Are you not bothered that you maybe, the movement may be losing a few key people who probably believed in the candidacy of your candidate, but then they feel that, one, he has lost the election, but he has gone to court. Let's wait and see what the court will decide. And two, they feel that the style of the obedience, especially online, on Twitter especially, it's not just, it's not civil, it's not decent enough. Are you worried that somebody like Professor Wole Soyinka, who by his own confession, had a thing going for Peter Obi and declared, publicly that he didn't want, either of the two candidates, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has been declared winner, and Atiku, because of the age bracket and the political class that they belong to. But then he's saying that because Obi is not able to call his guys to order, people might be disappointed in you.
Steve, let me say this. There's something about the universe that's absolutely exciting and interesting. The first time we really had a debate on this, it was with you on air. I remember I used the word that the Obedients are not unruly. They may be fierce, but not rude. And interestingly, we're back on it. Beautifully, let me say, that if in this contestation, the entire political process, if there is any movement that has been very civil, it's the Obedient Movement. And I'll tell you why. We have not deployed ethnicity or religion in our debate and contestation. Those who tend to, or who are struggling effusively to brand us as unruly, are the ones who have threatened a particular ethnicity. They are the ones who do ethnic profiling. They are the ones who have divided and polarized our country. We are absolutely civil. And I tell you, when I saw that interview by my boy and mentor, and I say this with all sense of respect, I tell people that I may disagree with you on certain score, but it doesn't change what I feel about you. I listened to that interview by the great Nobel laureate, Professor Wole Soyinka, and I wept for 3 reasons, and I'm going to put it out before Nigerians. My boy and mentor left issues about ethnic profiling, the killing of people and voter suppression in Lagos, and dwelt chiefly on Dati's comment about those who are interested in swearing a man whose mandate perhaps and the declaration of his election, his victory, does not tally with the provisions of our law as a problem. I felt very deeply offended. Then the second one, instead of talking about how those who were declared winners have not stopped the ethnic profiling, he called Dati and his statements a fascist. I felt very strange about it. Then I asked, is the man dead? Because he wrote a book long time ago, The Man Died in Him, Who Keeps Quiet in Times of Moral Crisis. I asked that question, and I'm asking that question again with all sense of humility. Let me tell you, in 2014, 2015, I was a DG Change Ambassadors of Nigeria, one of the campaign arms of President Muhammadu Buhari. In 2014-2015, the APC, which is presently in power, said worse things than Datti has said. Indeed, my very senior colleague and the substantive Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria today, said that the APC was going to form a parallel government if the PDP were to be declared winners. Some others went as far as saying that it clearly not like the democracy will die should the PDP be declared winners. And I wonder why we have all forgotten all that. And clearly we have the worst electoral larceny in our country's history. Clearly we have the worst electoral fraud in our country's history. Do you know what happened on the 25th of February and what happened on the 18th of March? Beatified Iwu's 2007 elections. That was an election that Yar'Adua openly admitted that was largely flawed. But that election comes to excellence when you juxtapose it with what happened on the February 25th and March the 18th. So why won't you beat a child and you refuse us the right to cry? You have asked us to go to court and we have gone to court and you're uneasy. What do they want?
They're saying don't heat up the politics. They are saying moderate what you say. They are saying that wait for the courts to decide, which perhaps is the reason why Professor Wole Soyinka has requested for a debate with Datti Baba Ahmed.
2014-2015, they didn't wait for the election before they started threatening.
Do you think that the running mates to the candidate Datti Ahmed will take on that offer from Professor Wole Soyinka?
Oh yes. The list, he will, and effectively so. The least of the obedience can take up that debate and do profoundly. And I know Professor Wole Soyinka, I know his mind. I know he won't go for that debate because the point is, history is replete with facts and figures. Do you know, with all sense of respect, some of us see him as our mentor because he understands the fact that disobedience of an unjust law is indeed the greatest respect for the law. And in 1965 or so, with a gun, he invaded a radio station and refused the announcement of Akintola as the winner of an election. History is such a beautiful spectacle. And I think that I implore my boy and the esteemed laureate to understand.
He was a young man then.
And so oblige the young people who are saying that on the mandate given to Peter Gregory Obi by the Nigerian people, they stand. Look, let me say this clearly. If you notice, Steve, a few weeks ago, about 5-6 days ago, about 7-8 days ago, you suddenly noticed a resurgence of militancy and banditry across our country. It was in Bayelsa, it was in Katsina, Kaduna, Zamfara, and several places, and Kogi. Now, you wonder, was it the election that kept it down? The simple thing was that the Labour Party presented the greatest merchant of hope in our history after Abiola. The Labour Party presented the greatest merchant of hope in Africa after Mandela. So Nigerians were waiting at their different positions to see what happens if this hope can transform their lot and their lives. When those who are professionals in electoral larceny and malfeasance took the mandate, albeit it's a hot coal, they can't close their hands because we're going to take it back in the courts. When they realize it, they are becoming restive again. And I challenge the DSS on my Twitter handle to go find out truly why there's a sudden resurgence of conflict, banditry, and violence. It's simply about, the Holy Book says, a hope defers makes the heart weary. That's what's happening. Nigerians are getting frustrated and tired. Nigerians are getting angrier by the day because their hope that their lot and their lives will be better with Peter Gregory Obi is almost being thrown in the winds. But God on the throne, that God that rules the human pilgrimage, that brought our boisterous planet out of primal vapor, out of nothing, is with us. And he knows truly that this country will move forward if the man who truly won the election and got their mandate is sworn in.
The court, I know Shaitan was coming. Just to on the heel of that, if the courts affirm the victory of Ashwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu of APC, will Peter Obi call his people to order?
The people are not unruly. If the courts rule otherwise, definitely Peter Obi is a law about. You saw the campaigns now. The most civil of the candidates was Peter Gregory Obi. Come on, let's give him that benefit of the doubt. He was the only one who didn't raise issues about ethnicity. They tried to use the videotape to bring him to religion. They found out that it was fake and forged. Peter is civil. Peter is loving. Peter has compassion. Peter cares about our country. So if he loses at the courts, which, Steve, I believe, the facts are preponderant. I believe that was why Dati sounded the way he sounded. Was sure, rock solid, that even the devil will give judgment. My mentor, Mahatma Gandhi, once said that it comes to a point in history where even the devil stands up and says, for once, let me do right. Our mandate will be that position where the judges of the Supreme Court of the Federal Republic of Nigeria will say, on all scores, what we had on the 25th of February 2023 was monumentally flawed. And they will do justice and give the mandate to the man who truly won it.
The man who came third?
Oh, you know what happened? He didn't come third. You saw the figures. You know what happened. You saw the figures. Go to INEC IREV and see the real score of Rivers State, for instance. You saw what happened. In a local government where the most populous local government in Rivers State, where he got about 71,000 votes. At the end of the day, they allocated only 14,000 to him. The facts are there. Mutilated papers everywhere. T-Pext, cancelled out. Oh, we've never had it this bad. And I think that every day Professor Mahmoud Yakub wakes up, his conscience will give him a slap. He will have a prick. Every day those who are marketing this electoral larceny wake up. They know the truth, and I think that our country will come out of this dark turn better and stronger, because this is about God's greatest country in the world. And I'm passionately, that's why my movement is Country First Movement. I'm passionate about the fact that tomorrow is going to be better than today. And I'm also confident that the Supreme Court will do justice and Nigerians will get the man they voted for as president.
Well, we can only wait until those results come out. But just to circle back, because we don't have that much time, to the earlier issues. Now, just talking about what's going on within the party, what is the modus operandi for resolving the current issue regarding the National Party chairman, and how is it going to be resolved? What's the way forward for the party?
Interestingly, like I said, there's a backline that is monstrous and strong, and it's like a buffer for the Labour Party. We're talking with all the interests, and they understand the fact that beyond personal interests, the larger interests should be of primacy. So before Tuesday, Wednesday, you'll find out that the Labour Party will resolve the contradictions and the problems. The court, there's another court order that says, Aburi and Co. are still in office. Let me say here that the truth is that the hand of Esau will not truly become Jacob. The truth is that Isaac will be king. The truth is that everything that the Nigerian people have wished for this period will come true, because it was Russell Lowell who said, falsehood forever on the throne, truth forever on the scaffold. That same truth sways the future, for behind the dim unknown standeth God, keeping watch over his own. There's a God over Nigeria, and that is God involved in the affairs of man. We're going to have a new Nigeria superintended by Peter Gregory Obi. And I promise you, you will see it happen, and you'll call me.
All right, but do you think that the party, Labour Party, I know that you are not the spokesperson for Labour, but of course you know what is going there. Do you think that the party, after all this, will return to normal, given the level of demonization that has been done to Lamidi Apapa at the moment? I mean, he's a deputy chairman in your party.
He'll wake up. He'll wake
But
up
I
to the
see the
reality.
way that
No, let me
he's
say
being
this.
pummeled
No, wait,
on
the
Twitter.
passion. No, the passion. Excuse the passion. I know, and we're talking with everybody.
Yeah.
Excuse the passion, because the point is, like I said, the witch cried last night, the child dies this morning. The obedience and everybody is believing that, oh, why would you allow those who stole our mandate use you? But behind the scene, we're talking to everybody.
You think he's being used?
Oh yes. Behind the scene, we're talking to everybody, and sooner rather than later, we'll resolve the contradictions. And let me say this. The tenure of the incumbent chairman will soon expire. So that's one of the arguments that we're making. Okay, just allow him until June. Let's unite and exhaust the privileges open to the Nigerian people in the pursuit of our mandate, which is the judiciary. Let's unite as a team. Lamidi Apapa will understand that. Every interest will understand that. We'll get back to the table and resolve the contradictions within. Let me say this, Steve, that we understand that Nigeria is greater than any individual interest. And we shall, God on the side of the Nigerian people and the Labour Party, as well as the obedient movement, resolve all these contradictions for good. Like I said, we're in court, we'll win in court, and Nigerians will get their true mandate holder as president.
How real?
It's
How
the
real?
confidence.
Yeah,
It's the
he's very
confidence for me.
confident with
Is there
that.
something that's you know that's
I'm a lawyer. And that's exactly where, when Dati Baba Ahmed made his arguments, well, although not as a lawyer, I smiled. Let me tell you this. There's a provision of the law that talks about 2/3 of the states and Abuja. My boy here is a very good student of English, even in English language. In that context, conjunctively, you don't turn Abuja, you quote section 239 or so, and then say, oh, that Abuja has been in several judgments taken as one of the states. No, it doesn't make any sense. Because Abuja does not have 3 senators. Abuja has 1 senator. Abuja has only 6 LGAs. Abuja does not have a governor. Abuja is distinct politically. And then what you're talking about is the landlord of Abuja not having to TED. The man who drafted, the draftsman of the constitution, had something very clear in their minds. That they want a man who is popular in Abuja to superintend over Nigeria from Abuja. You don't win to TED of the state where you're going to reside as president, and people think it's something you throw away. The opinion of the draftsman when they said you went to TED of the states is so that the president will be popular in the country. That's the opinion of the draftsman. And that opinion extends to Abuja. So the president will be comfortable, will be popular in the state where he resides. And Abuja is the place where he resides. So how can you say that the president who did not win to TED of Abuja can be the president of the Federal Republic? No, it's not true. That's what Dati was arguing.
But there have been presidents who didn't win 2/3 of Abuja.
No, none. Name one. None. That's the beautiful thing
The sitting
here.
president.
Who?
The sitting president.
The sitting president won 2/3 of Abuja. Go through records.
In 2019?
Yes, he
And
won
in
2/3 of
2015?
Abuja. He won 2/3 of Abuja.
You sure about that?
I'm very completely sure. The only person who has not won 2/3 of Abuja is Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And that's the truth. So, what am I trying to say? We understand the law, we know the law, and those who will interpret the law at the level of the Supreme Court understands why the draftsman said, they could have just said 2/3 of the states of the Federation. You know, Abuja is the melting point. Abuja is where the president will reside, and so you must win 2/3 of that place. You know, that's simple argument. But let me say clearly here that you even have issues about the trending issue about the DEA, drug issues and all that. You have several issues, but I am not the court of law that will decide. But as a lawyer, I know that our case is watertight. And I know that the God who leads the human pilgrimage will give us victory.
All right, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
on here, Chris Nwakobia, convener, Country First Movement, and spokesperson Obidati Presidential Campaign Organization.